How do you propose to accelerate compliance with the 2003 AU Maputo Declaration on the 10%?
In the last few years, Africa has been to realize that we won't do it without putting agriculture on the table. We won't just jump to the stages where we want to be in development without taking agriculture along with us. So that realization is becoming extremely important. Then processes like the CAADP process, that there is efforts and support from our governments, but also from donor communities, and also our own inward-looking processes that help us focus on what are we investing in. Sometimes you go to countries and they don't have agendas. Defining our agendas through the CAADP processes and rallying people behind those agendas is extremely important. And all these things are beginning to happen. The food crisis did scare people, and nobody wants to see themselves in that situation again.
What would you like to see happening with CAADP in the future?
When we're talking about going forward, that's where I see that CAADP should be addressing. CAADP cannot afford to be just a tool that goes around countries signing compacts. CAADP needs to be part of what is happening today, tomorrow. And being able to assess problems and being able to advise countries as problems evolve is part of what CAADP should do. Otherwise, it will be irrelevant. So I haven't seen it, and it's something I would like to see.
I think 15 years from now, I see CAADP not as CAADP as it is now. I will see Africa having an integrated market with the food flowing from one corner to another, and also the people having food security on the continent.
CAADP pode jogar papel importante, sobretudo na área de investigação agrária, de modo a que a investigação continue a identificar não só semente de boa qualidade, mas sobretudo a transferir conhecimentos, a transferir tecnologias, basicamente para os produtores familiares, que são a maioria dos produtores em África.
Time is running out. 2020, 2015, which sets, those are the time frames for some of the goals, is not far away. Remember when South Africa spoke about 2010? You know, we thought, oh, it's a decade away, let's not worry about it. It's right on our doorstep already, and nobody knows where the time goes. However, I'm an optimist. You look at what's happened in Rwanda. Rwanda, a country that was in total devastation. What's happening in Malawi? I have great hope that, in fact, if we stick to our program, we stick to our frameworks, we stick to the plan, maybe CAADP should be called the Comprehensive Agricultural Development Plan rather than a program, because then we will know what goals and what achievements we have to make going forward.
The NEPAD Secretariat is working very, very closely with us at the African Union Commission. We have the partners. Now the ministers responsible are understanding, they are beginning to understand that, no, we have to feed our people. So, 15 years from now, things should be much, much better.
Having benefited from shared insight, it became clear that delegates could begin to see the bigger picture coming into focus.
My message is very simple. Increase investment and support in public goods in agriculture in a particular country. When you look at the budget, look at the basic infrastructure that you can put in the agricultural sector, rural sector, so that the private sector can emerge. Because agriculture is essentially a private sector business. So you need to be able to do that. Second, look at your policy environment. Are you putting in place policies that are actually conducive to the growing of the private sector? Look at that one as well. Are you providing the necessary education and health infrastructure in the rural areas? All those things are important. Overall, I think government need to look inward, develop long-term agricultural strategy based on sound, simple principles, and be patient to look at the benefit coming along the way, because it takes a long time to develop.
If you look at our technical people in agriculture, they have not been accorded the same status that we accord to people who deal with foreign affairs and other issues, because those are the elite of the elite. These are the forgotten people in the extension services. And yet, we are who we are, and no country can be a sovereign country, can be a proud country, unless its people are able to feed themselves. And hence I welcome this theme here, at which I do expect that we shall then launch, in a way, the summit to launch the Africa's Green Revolution.
There is too much theory than the actual implementation of what CAADP initiatives are supposed to convey. Time is not there for all of us. Okay, 2003, this is 2009, we'll be going to 2010. Okay, some countries have made a difference. Not only Malawi, maybe Zambia is on the way, Ethiopia is there. Okay, but the other presentations from the other countries, and others have also commented, I urge them to turn around. We can make a difference in this country, in this continent of Africa.
What we really need to understand is that those of us who are Africans and those of us who live in Africa need to understand that in our continent, more than 90% of our people are wholly dependent on rural agricultural economies for their entire livelihood. Now that's a massive statistic. And my personal sincere belief is that unless we really do something about agricultural rural economies, then this continent will never grow. And in fact, if we look at the role of Africa in the development of humankind, it was the agriculturalists who moved people from hunt and gatherers to be able to become thinkers and philosophers and then to become technologists. That is the key role of agriculture. It's critical for our continent.
I was happy today that most of the concerns that we have as a country are being addressed. The issues about some of the things that are forgotten in the key CAADP pillars, like bringing out the issues of the food crisis, like bringing out the issues of the private sector. But also, it is important to see that CAADP, the people behind CAADP are realizing that there hasn't been any strong follow-up on CAADP and CAADP issues. Going out there and having a country sign a compact without a process on how that compact is going to be delivered should only happen to Rwanda because Rwanda did it first. And like I said, there are some positive experiences. We did it first. It helped us define our agricultural agenda better. It helped us force ourselves to find the resources to do it. But it can be easier if we have someone who is pushing CAADP from behind and pushing for the support of CAADP with our development partners. So I'm just saying that for other countries that are signing on, they don't have to do it the hard way like we did. We are happy to be part of its success, but it would be easier if all of us rallied behind it, African Union and NEPAD, and put clear mechanisms of how CAADP should be delivered.
Clearly, quite a number of countries have actually embraced CAADP, and NEPAD, working with some of the global knowledge institutions, including the International Food Policy Institute and national institutions, and some of our lead African institutions, are supporting national governments to undertake analytical work in various countries. There are 15 countries lined up in ECOWAS. There are at least another 15 countries lined up in COMESA. There are a few other countries lined up in SADC, which are moving towards defining critical priority sectors that will stimulate agriculture growth within Africa. Through this analytical work which is being undertaken by these various knowledge centers. And once this analytical work has been completed, priorities have been defined, policy gaps have been defined, investment options have been defined, a compact is prepared, which is more or less an agreement on how these various national governments will begin to fast-track the implementation of CAADP. CAADP being a broader framework, but effectively it is really implementation of their own national agriculture priorities, but as defined within the context of CAADP. So this compact is signed by the government, by a development partner representative, by a private sector representative, by also the African Union and NEPAD. So this is really just a statement of our, agreement on how agriculture can be stimulated within a given country.
The development partners, big development partners, the Scandinavian governments, the German government, the Dutch government, many other governments in the world, the USAID differed from the UK, are all working collaboratively, and they've formed a global fund to work with CAADP, and they want to work through the structures rather than dishing out big grants and then hoping that somebody's going to come and make the plan. If you don't talk to the plan, you don't get the grant. And I think there's much better control and much better understanding of the relationship between higher education, that's universities, government, local and regional and national, and then the NGO sector, and then of course the private sector as well. So it's becoming, the idea of partnerships is really, really important. These P words are important now. Partnerships are becoming very critical.
There was agreement that more capacities, particularly in the area of science and technology, will need to be enhanced to ensure that we have a sufficient pool of expertise that will drive the future of African agriculture. There was also agreement that it will be critical that national governments begin to open up to wider spaces for markets to ensure that regional trade is promoted, because clearly, in as much as we may talk over the need for foreign trade or the opening up of markets in Europe as well as in North America, it is also critical that we appreciate that Africa has its own huge market with a population of close to 800 million. Clearly, the demand for staples is going to grow, particularly in light of increased urbanization. And obviously, it is important that national governments begin to open up their own markets. Borders must not be closed. Let them be opened up. Allow fertilizer flow. Allow the sale of certain commodities, whether it's rice or meal, or whatever agricultural commodities. It will be critical that if these markets are actually opened up.
Agriculture is one area which can be able to get a country have socio-economic growth, social equity, which is spread out in the rural areas. And the reason for that is simple. In fact, it does not need an economist. You look at the population which is dependent on agriculture, which is in most cases in Africa, 70%. Just target those. $1 invested in agriculture will give you say about $3. And that's those $3 you can be able to invest in health, invest in water, and send your child to school. So you are targeting the right population once you increase investment in agriculture.